Our United Way Spotlight of the Week is on Eastern Ontario 211, and I'm joined by John Hoyles, Executive Director. Thank you for joining us today.
It's my pleasure. It's a great opportunity to not only talk about 211, but about United Way. And we're these days with COVID, we have been extremely busy and facing very challenging times, as everybody else has. But 211 is such an easy tool for people. If you don't know where to turn, you can just call 211 and it will help you get connected to the things that you need.
Well, I went on your website and you've got, I think, 20 different categories, and then there are all the services within each category. So how does it work? I've got a problem. I don't know where to turn. So I pick up the phone and I dial.
Pick up the phone, 211. That's all you do is dial 211. You get a live person. Okay, there's no, we have accreditation standards we have to maintain. So our goal is to 85% of the time answer the call within 60 seconds, so that people aren't going to get that, waiting on the line for 25 minutes to connect it with your telephone company or whatever it might be. The other thing is that there's two parts of what we do. The engine of the whole organization is our data. So we have 8,000 records of services in Eastern Ontario, from everything from soup to nuts. So whether it's a senior looking for a friendly voice because they're isolated, their spouse has died and they're by themselves, or whether it's a young woman who, from a chat from a public library, is talking about human trafficking and how can she get out of that. That's what we do, all those things. I took this job 4 years ago. I was sort of moving into retirement because what attracted me to it was that we're helping people every day. And especially with COVID.
And as such a diverse group of people, everything from children to elderly people to newcomers to Canada to, it's basically anything you're having a problem with, you can dial 211. And the other thing I really like about it is that it is by telephone, because not everybody is comfortable with computers and navigating through menus and all the rest. So that I think is a really great idea.
Well, it's really important because 20% of the population is never going to be using digital tools. Either not only people that are maybe older and not familiar, but people in poverty that don't have the money to have those kinds of tools available to them. But I think the really important thing too is, because of having the ability, even if we're doing a chat with somebody or a text, we can then say, can we have a conversation? Because part of the training of our community navigators is to do an assessment. And I can't tell you how many times when a person calls, they think they have problem X. They're calling because they can't pay their hydro bill. But when you start talking, you find out, gee, they haven't got enough food to the end of the week. And that they're having a problem with their landlord. So we may end up making 3 referrals for the one call. One to how to get a hydro payment help, and there's programs for that. Where's the nearest food bank? And where's the nearest legal clinic that you can go to deal with your landlord problem. So that's the thing. If you have somebody talking that can ask, we train our folks to probe, but to probe gently and respectfully, so that they can draw people out. And as my team lead has been with us 13 years, said the other day to me, said, it's just that people really seem to appreciate just that little bit of human contact. It's not just only the help, but they're talking, funnily enough, to a live person.
Who is trained to be nice to these people and bring out what they really need.
Exactly.
Oh, yep. Really? Do you ever hear back from people, especially the ones that have complex issues, and you've made 3 referrals? Do you ever hear back to how things are?
Well, in fact, we've actually embarked on a very extensive program of doing more follow-up calls. Because we advocate as well. If we get somebody on the phone who we think is really struggling and they're not going to be able to reach out to that organization that could help them, what we'll do is we'll say, well, look, that agency's open right now. We'll phone together, and we'll introduce the problem, what the issue is, and when we think their person is comfortable, we'll back off. That's sort of the big sort of follow-up or advocating side of it. But if we get somebody who, for example, oh yeah, they got the number, but we'll ask them at the end of the call, would you be okay if we called you back 24 hours from now, just to see how it went? And we do, and sometimes, no, got everything all set, but sometimes, no, I couldn't quite figure it out, so then we'll help them again. Because that's where our experienced community navigators get a real feel for where the person is really going to be able to. What we really want to do is empower people to have the confidence to look after these things themselves, or to give them the tools that they can going forward. But it's so complex. So just to give you an example, in Ottawa, in 1 kilometer from the Byward, 2 kilometers from the Byward Market, there are 800 different services available, government services available. How do you navigate that? I don't care if you're, got an IQ of 180. It's very hard to navigate. And so if you can call us, they can cut through all the, I call one number. Oh, you got to call the next number. You just got to call the one number, 211, and there you go. Our folks will help you get to the right place for the right program for the issue that you're dealing with.
That's really an amazing service. It must be very rewarding to be one of your people who answers the phone. I mean, that sounds like a really fulfilling job.
It is fulfilling. It's also very challenging, especially with COVID. People are more desperate, so sometimes they're tense and they're angry. And so the calls can be actually pretty exhausting. And one of the big things I've been focusing on in the last few months is the mental health of our team, and saying to them, look, if you get a tough call, take 10 minutes away from the phone, sort of recharge a bit. And it's harder when all our folks are working from home. Here at the office, we have a wellness room where they can get up and go and sit down in this quiet room and just stay away. But where do you go if you've got children and you're in your bedroom doing your work? It becomes even more challenging because, as I said to our folks with Omicron, please be careful, stay healthy. I said it's in your interest, but it's also in my interest that if you don't get sick, because then we'll really be struggling to answer all the calls that we're receiving.
What is the most common call that you get?
These days, mental health. Mental health and housing and shelter are the two right now that are the key, and vaccination. And very recently, well, what do these new regulations, what can I do or what can I not do? So people are confused and they're looking for clarity.
In the couple of minutes we've got left, I understand that the United Way was very much a part of 211. Can you tell me about that?
Yes, it was United Way that actually got the license from the CRTC for 211 number back in 2005. And since then, it's grown across the country with help from the federal government. Because of COVID, 211 is now everywhere in Canada, the territories, Newfoundland and Labrador, but also locally. United Way, Kingston, Lennox, Frontenac, and Addington have been a huge support to 211. And Pavna and her team, are just terrific. They won awards for how they do their work. And so it's really wonderful working for them. And they support us, as does United Way here in Ottawa, where we're located, and in SDG, and in Leeds, Grenville, and in Prince Edward Hastings. So the United Ways across the region are very supportive of us, and we couldn't do it without them.
Good to know. Good place to, good reason to support the United Way and to support 211. Well, I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot today, so now I know where to turn if I have something I can't quite figure out.
That's right. It doesn't matter if you're a millionaire or you have $10 in your pocket. We're here to help everybody.
Good to know. Thank you so much for being with us today, John.